Vikylin contacted me and asked me if I would like to review one of their latest cameras. It's the PTZ4818X IRCSAW, bit of a mouthful there. It's a 4K IP camera, capable of 4K at 20 frames per second. It's got a 0 to 18 optical zoom and up to 30 if you include the digital zoom in that as well. It's fitted with infrared lights and also spotlights, so it's capable of infrared night vision and also colour vision. Infrared up to 60 meters and colour vision up to 40 meters. As well as motion detection, it's also got intelligent detection, as in it will detect persons and vehicles, and it's also capable of following. One unique feature of this camera is the fact that it's got a screen wiper there for when it's raining, which I think is very handy. It's IP67 rated, so it's waterproof. Power over Ethernet, but they also provide a 12 volts power supply in case you don't have PoE, and all in all it's a reasonably well made camera. I'm going to show you some clips now. The first one just shows you the zoom capability of the camera. Now the camera does actually record sound, but I've actually got my camera connected to a network disk, and when I download the video it doesn't have the sound on it, but there is sound on these videos. I've recorded these clips over the last few days, trying to get some wildlife in the garden so that you've got something to look at that's quite interesting. Now this obviously is the daytime, and these clips might give you an idea of how well the camera performs and the quality of the video it produces. It's set at 4K, and as you can see we've got a herd of deer that come in the garden virtually every day. So we get to see the deer during the day and also during the night. And the next clip will show you what the camera is like as far as night vision is concerned. Now, I'm impressed with the distance that the infrared lights reach. It's quite a long distance, a lot further than most of my other cameras. But as you can see, we get the deer quite close up. And I've actually cut this video in several places so it's not too long, because you're going to see this deer now having a scratch in a second, and I just thought that was quite interesting to see. And then towards the end of this particular night vision clip, you'll see that there's a stag there as well, and it's the same stag that was on the daytime video. So these deer, they're not always in a big group, but they do actually come in the garden all the time, day and night. Now we're going to swap over to a little bit of footage of a fox, and again this gives you an indication of how good the video is from the camera, and you can see it's very good at night vision. Quite good detail there on the fox, obviously out there looking for food. And then I've just cut to another clip where it's coming back the other way. I'll be using this camera predominantly for filming wildlife because I've got security cameras around the house, but I've also included some video a little bit further on where you see it used in more of a security situation. But what I'm going to show you next, when we come on to the next clip of a rabbit, which is just about to start now, is the camera switching over from infrared to white light. It's got a spotlight on there and it'll swap over from one to the other. So that will just give you an idea of what that is like as well. And as you can see, the rabbit is now in the spotlight. The camera has a 110 degree tilt. So 0 to 110 degrees. And a 360 degree pan. So it will literally just go round and round and round. The camera has a microphone and speaker for two-way audio. In order to use that feature you need to download the app, and here's some footage of it in operation. Hello?
What are you doing now?
Freezing to death. It's absolutely freezing out here.
Well, hurry up and come back inside and make me a cup of tea.
Okay. The next clip is downloaded from the camera, and you can see as I'm walking towards the camera the intelligent person detection has come into operation. You can see the green box that it's drawn around me, and you can also watch the camera tracking me as I walk towards it. One thing I have noticed though is that the camera does not go back to the position it was in when it started when it stops tracking, which I think is a bit of a problem, and I haven't been able to figure out how to make it do that.
Hello?
Hello?
What are you doing?
Walking, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Walking. What are you doing?
Well, why are you creeping around the garden?
I'm trying to review my camera.
Well, why are you reviewing it in my coach?
I couldn't figure out how to use the wiper on the camera until I downloaded the app. And what we've got to do when you download the app, if you actually click on the image there, which is the camera, you can see we've got a menu at the bottom there. Just slide up to access the rest of the controls there for the PTZ. Click on preset. You can actually set various call points for the camera, and then this add vac config, whatever that is, if you click on that and scroll upwards, you can see we've got a wiper icon there. If I press that, you'll see that it starts wiping the camera. It's also got a fan. I believe that's because it's got a demister inside the camera in case any moisture gets in. But another thing that's worth pointing out is if we go back to PTZ, if you click on talk, you can hear that the sound is from the camera is now coming through on the phone there. This is how you communicate between the camera and the phone, and in order to use this, if you actually want to talk to someone, you've got to keep your finger pressed on the microphone icon there while you're talking. A quick look at the packaging. Remember, you can pause the video if you want to look at the packaging in more detail. Inside the box we've got the camera with a mounting bracket, a 12 volt power supply if you don't have power over Ethernet, instructions and fittings, and a little safety cable there should the camera work itself loose or fall. That will just prevent it from landing on somebody's head. To fit the mounting bracket, make sure that these 3 screws are fully retracted. So I've screwed all those out so that I can actually slide it over the top of the camera. Push the cables through the bracket like so, and then it just comes down, slots on the camera there, and then you tighten the 3 screws. So as you can see, the cable can either go up or down on the bracket, which is quite handy. I'll just show you where this little safety wire clips. It just clips on that little lug there. There's a plate on the back of the camera, and you can remove that to fit a micro SD card if you've got no other means of recording video. So that just unscrews from the back, pull off the cap, and then the micro SD card just slots in there. And then tighten that back up again. There are 3 different cables connected to the camera. This one is for a 12 volts power supply. This is where you connect the Ethernet cable, and if you've got PoE you only need the 1 cable. If you haven't, you need the Ethernet cable and the power supply. And this one is a reset button, so you can remove that cap and reset the camera if you need to. But what I'm going to do now is connect my power over Ethernet cable to the camera, and that should power up the camera. So I'm doing that now. And this is a camera going through its startup sequence. This is a power over Ethernet cable. If it was just Ethernet and I had no power, then I would have to connect the 12 volt power supply to this connection here. So once the camera is powered on and connected to the router, we've actually got to find it on an internet browser. There's a little sticker on the back and it says the IP address is 192.168.1.110. Open up your internet browser and type that in. Unfortunately, I had to change my IP address to 114 because I already had something on 110. Then enter the username and password, which is admin and 123456, 123456, and then log in. So as you can see, this is the screen where you can access the camera on your computer. Now, you can actually download an app, and there is a QR code on the paperwork which shows you how to do that, but this at the moment is just on the PC. You can see the difference between me speaking and what's coming through on the actual TV where we're getting the feed from the camera, so there is a slight delay there. And as you can see, that is the wiper in operation as well. I figured I would film that inside because it's easier. So that will clear any raindrops or maybe cobwebs off the lens. I have spent literally hours trying to sort this camera out to get it to work the way that I want it to work. Now, one thing I will say before I go into all of the detail on that is that the camera image is pretty good. I like the zoom feature on the camera as well, and the camera does what it's supposed to do. But, and it's a big but, the instructions are extremely complicated, and if you're not actually familiar with working on these cameras and the setup of IP addresses and all that sort of thing, you're going to find it very difficult to set this camera up. It can be done. To put things in context, I contacted Vikylin and they actually transferred me to one of their technical support gurus, and we spent 2 hours trying to fix an issue that I had and we couldn't do it. Now, one of the reasons that we've got all of these problems is because the software, the IP camera software, is designed for Internet Explorer. Now, Internet Explorer is not supported by Microsoft anymore. It's Microsoft Edge. There is an add-on you can use on Microsoft Edge that allows it to work in Internet Explorer mode, but that is not the same as using the actual program, and it causes problems. I've got the camera running on Chrome, and I've also got it running on Microsoft Edge with that add-on. But the best way that I found to run the camera is to connect it to my net disk. I've got a Synology net disk, and connected to that it seems to be much more stable. So I think if you're going to buy this camera, you need to be prepared to put a lot of work in to try and get it to work the way that you want it to work. But if you do get that sorted out, then the camera actually is a pretty good camera, and I'm quite impressed with it. The video quality is very good. The pan tilt and zoom works. One of the issues that I've got is that when you've got the camera on tracking, so it will follow a person if it catches them on the camera or a vehicle, the camera moves around to follow them walking around, and then when it actually stops, it just stays where it is. It doesn't return back to the home position. Now, I haven't been able to solve that since I actually got the camera. I've not been able to work out how to get that to go back to the home position. The app is pretty good, and using the app to talk to people is pretty good as well. So all in all, it's a good camera, but with an awful lot of setup issues. But be prepared for a lot of messing around if you order one of these. Anyway, I hope you found this review useful. Thank you very much for watching, and please take care.